IVM.
Rishabh Pant is the star. Those are the last words that we heard at today's Day 5 play at the Gabba. Guys, we're extremely emotional. It has been a fantastic series. I want to say India has been battered but not broken. They've been bruised but not beaten. And today we breached the so-called Fortress Gabba. It's historic. Records are meant to be broken. No team has ever beaten Australia since 1988 at the Gabba. There was all sorts of talk about us saying, there's no way we can do this. By day 4, everyone was talking about how a draw is a win for India. People were saying, doesn't matter what happens here, they've won our hearts. But this is new Team India. This is young Team India. As Harsha Bhogle put it, you give them a stage and then move aside. These guys are here to win. Emotional. I think I've got goosebumps as I was talking, right? I'm going to welcome Ashwin and DJ to this podcast. Ashwin, firstly, a very happy birthday to you. Could there have been a better birthday than this one?
There honestly could not have been, right? I mean, it's just been the perfect last 12 hours, the perfect day. A few people were messaging me tentatively during the first session saying, man, if India can pull off a draw, this would be a great birthday gift to retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to ask for too much. I think I just messaged you guys saying it would be a great birthday gift. At the start of day 1, especially when Rohit got out early, day 5, session 1, I didn't dream of a victory here. But that is what this Indian team has given us license to do. They've given us a license to dream, right? With guys like Rishabh, with the young blood, with guys like Siraj. It has just been an amazing day.
DJ, how are you feeling? Did you get any sleep at all? Have you got any sleep since the 19th of December when India got 36 all out?
I don't know, man. It feels like a few months since I had a solid 6-hour sleep. I'm tired. It's been emotional. I've been found in various parts of my house quietly sobbing to myself, watching all these videos of Sunny Gavaskar. I've experienced almost every emotion, I think. I don't know. There's lack of sleep, there's despair, there's hurt, there's extreme elation. And then, the only time I felt like this before, I think, was 2001 when Bhaji hit those runs past point, right, to win us that series as well, 2-1. I don't think I can feel anything inside me anymore. All my emotion is just been swept away now. I just want to sleep, and it'll be a great, great sleep. I think I speak for a lot of fans. It has been as grueling for the fans across the world as it has probably been for the players. So, it's been something else, and a big thank you from us.
It has, and it's been absolutely spectacular. Ashwin, let me ask you, like the census, is this something that happens once every 10 years? 2001 in Calcutta, 2011 at the Wankhede, and 2021 at the Gabba.
Honestly, the Gabba victory hasn't happened in 33 years, since 1988. So you're probably right. When you say it like that, 2001, 2011, 2021, I hope this team does more amazing breakthrough things in the 20s before 2031, let's be honest. But you're probably right. This is really a once-in-a-generation thing. I've said many times on this show for people who listen to us often, I live in the US. I talk to my American friends about cricket. I was talking to some of my friends who are newly getting into the sport, and I was trying to explain to them the magnitude of this, right? People say, all right, 328 runs, one day, 90, should be doable, right? It's like, no, you do not assume you're going into the Gabba on the 5th day of a test match with the pitch breaking apart against an attack with Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, and Lyon, who are their first 4 choices of bowlers. You don't assume you can win it. So it is really a miracle. It's probably a once in a 10-year thing. Just magnificent. And I hope everybody gets to celebrate this as much as we have and plan to for the next few days as well.
Absolutely. DJ, is this bringing back the brand of Test cricket across the globe? These young Indians. I have 2 questions to ask you. One is, what do you have to say about everyone who said Test cricket should be 4 days and not 5 days? First, let me ask you that question.
So interesting that you say that, because this test match lasted 399 overs. in total. And the proposal is that 100 overs are bowled in every day in a 4-day test. So barring rain interruptions, this would have been completed in a 4-day test as well. I'm not one for 4-day tests. I think there's a lot of reason. I mean, cricket is weather affected. We've talked about it. Better people than me have written about why 5-day tests are better than 4-day tests and vice versa. So I don't want to get into that debate. But for a series to go into the last 10 minutes of the last day in the last session, where we're looking at 1 month on from 36 all out, man. And you had the unfortunate pleasure of hosting that episode. So it's only fair that you host this episode. It's been less than a month since the 19th of December. Let's put that in context. That despair compared to this elation and this magnificent team that never said die. I don't know, man. 4-day, 5-day test match. You can never get... I love the IPL. I love T20. We love one-day cricket. But you can never get this feeling from those forms of the game. That struggle over 5 days, that intense kind of tug of war between the oscillating fortunes, Pat Cummins bowling his heart out. I mean, the scenes, man, the scenes, just something else.
There's a big part of it, sorry, I was going to say that is also the physical, you said Pat Cummins bowling his heart out, the physical toll, right? There's a part of me, every time the ball bounced up funny, Pujara got hit on the knee, the groin, the rib cage, the shoulder, the finger, once, twice, 3 times, the helmet, 4 times. I mean, just... it's unbelievable. People think Test cricket is a slow sport, 5 days, etc. It is a physical battle. And seeing, I mean, we're all going to be talking about Pant forever. Gill will be in the record books for 91. But seeing the way Pujara batted out there, he just took the blows on the body. I mean, it was a magnificent team effort. I would not stop and say one person did it. But sorry, I got sidetracked. Varun, I was going to just quickly address some of the comments. So because this is the first time we've gone live. So if you are eventually listening to this as a podcast, I apologize. It's not going to make as much sense. But we're just so high energy from the match we decided to go live. So Achal says #pants off, which is always good. If a draw equals a win, is an outright win, which is always good. A lot of people happy to see us live. A couple of birthday wishes, so thank you, folks. Shrikar and Nandan say DJ looks like Joe Burns. So I don't know if that's a compliment or not. The guy got dropped.
I remember what Joe Burns looked. He hasn't played for so long.
Yeah, of course. And Archer jumps in with to celebrate this. I think somebody should reach out to Navaldeep, the fan in Sydney. Was it Sydney, Melbourne? And just make sure he's doing okay and celebrating. Man, this has been a heck of a day. So Varun, back to you.
Yeah, very interesting. And thanks for that, Ashwin. I think my other question is going to be, India has used 20 players in this tournament, I think, in this series. And I think that's the maximum so far. So don't you think the BCCI should just schedule like simultaneous tours now to Australia and England, playing test matches for 24 hours straight with 3 teams that we can put up there?
The question is, if you send them to England, do England have 3 teams that are good enough to play us, really? I mean...
No, all of these teams just need one. They just need to play India A, B or C. We get cricket 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I know, but it's a fair point. I know we've said a lot about this. India C is playing Australia and all of that stuff. But, I mean, I think it's a reflection on the strength of domestic cricket, right? And the India A tours, I mean, someone like Siraj has gone on the India A tours. He's the leader of the attack 3 games later, 3 games after making his debut. So it's a test of our bench strength that has really been passed. I mean, I know, you remember the Canteen 11 comment that was made last time around? I genuinely think our Canteen 11 would beat Australia right now. This is the reason.
People were asking, by the way, on our Discord server, which is fantastic. If you're not on it, you should join it. But people were asking, why do you hate Kerry O'Keefe so much? And aside from all the laughing and shortening, it's the Canteen comment that has stayed with me and I think will just annoy me forever.
And this was when he said that the Canteen 11, you can average 50 if you're batting against the Canteen 11, right? But the Canteen 11 has some pretty decent bowlers, as Australia found out. 20 wickets at the Gabba, man. Insane.
20 wickets at the Gabba after being... Sorry, Varun, I'm going to keep jumping it up. I'm just too excited. But before the Gabba, they had a combined total. India's bowlers had a combined total of 13 wickets. Australia's bowlers had a combined total of 1,046 wickets. I mean, this is not even a level playing field. 1,046 to 13. And India managed to take 20 wickets. Australia took, 15? Yeah, 15. That's really something. So anyway.
Yeah, you're talking about the bowlers, guys. I think it's very important to mention the 5 bowlers who played. And we're going to get into it, but I just want to read out a little bit of stuff about these 5 that I saw on Twitter. Natarajan, apparently when he was younger, had to think 100 times before investing in a new pair of shoes. His wife gave birth to their son while Natarajan was playing the IPL in UAE. He's gone straight into Australia to buy a bubble, and he has not seen his child yet. Shardul Thakur battled obesity for Mumbai, and it's amazing. Sachin Tendulkar advised him to lose weight to become a great, to have a great cricketing career ahead of him. Mohammad Siraj battled everything. His father passed away. His father was a rickshaw driver. He passed away. He still continued his national duty. He faced racism at the SCG. He came out a hero. He was the hero we all needed to battle these kind of issues in cricket. Washington Sundar, his father is basically your typical middle-class father who, when you get 98 marks, you ask what happened to the other 2. His father would be proud. His sister has been part of the journey with him. Navdeep Saini, right? He, again, from very humble backgrounds, groin injury in the middle of the game. These 5 guys, Ashwin, you mentioned, had, I think, a total of 4 test matches between them, while Australia had over 1,000 wickets. DJ, what did India think while they picked these 5 bowlers?
Unbelievable, right? It's actually 3 test matches and 10 balls, I think, that Shardul Thakur played on his debut. So it was effectively his debut game as well, almost. I mean, he didn't make his debut, so to speak, at the Gabba, but I think he was injured against South Africa or the West Indies. I can't remember, but I remember him going off in the second over of the game. Lots of debate, right? I mean, lots of debate. In hindsight, it's all worked out. But when this happened, initially, we were like, where is Kuldeep? He was in the original squad. Okay, you mentioned that these guys haven't got much experience. They were only in Australia as net bowlers. Natarajan stayed back to bowl in the nets. He wanted to. I think the Indian team wanted to get the left arm angle because Stark would be bowling. So he stayed back. He was there for the ODI and the T20 leg of the game. He made his debut in all 3 formats on the same tour. Insane. Washington Sundar, similarly bowling in the nets, probably to simulate what Nathan Lyon did. He was part of the T20 leg. And I mean, Kuldeep, you have to feel for that guy as well. Last time he was on Australian shores, he was in the original squad. He would have expected a game. I mean, almost everyone else has got a game, right? You've got Washington and Natarajan and Shardul and all these guys coming in from outside the original squad and getting a game. So I really did feel for Kuldeep. There was a point at which Ravi Shastri had come out and said, he's our number 1 overseas spinner. We are going to back him. But he seems to just fallen out of favor. So that's probably something to look at. But in hindsight, oh my God, that first day, okay, we ended at 270 for 5. But in our heads, we'd all kind of said, this is a 600 score by Australia. Again, they won the toss. I don't think we won a single toss this series. Have we?
No, I
We've lost 4 tosses. And won the series. That is
we've lost
another
4 tosses and we've lost 8 of our starting 11 and we won the series.
Absolutely mad. But I mean, the selections, they picked those 4 bowlers. They went for the extra batting of Shardul and Washington. Washington was probably a good swap for Jadeja, to be fair. But Shardul was an interesting pick for me. Obviously, justified his pick in hindsight. Hindsight 2020. Well done to him. And I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
I mean, I think it was, DJ said it, right? In hindsight, it's easy to say, but I think the team selection was absolutely brilliant. You know, you've had injuries to the bowlers. You can't go in with 4 new bowlers. You have to go in with 5. And Ashwin, that's exactly what happened, right? Saini got a groin injury and had to go off. He was going for scans, but because the team was very clear in what the selection was and what they needed, India carried on fine.
Absolutely. And I think we learned, right? Shami got injured mid-game. Umesh got injured mid-game. And so I think you're not going to risk having... We've talked about this for months on this show. If you had one of the top-order batsmen who could bowl a little bit, maybe different. By the way, Australia had that in Labuschagne and obviously Smith can turn his role to some run. And they didn't use them at all. Labuschagne bowled 1 over here or there just to switch ends and things. But they knew they needed 5 bowlers. Ultimately, the difference maker was having a young, fit cricketer like Washington Sundar, who could bowl a full quota of overs from one end and bat at 7. And that is the role Jadeja has been playing for us. And just bringing him in to bat at 7. I mean, his batting with Shardul, of course, who batted 8, but his batting ended up being part of the game changer. So very smart call. Obviously, easy to say that in hindsight, but to play 5 bowlers, you had to back your strengths. And, the bowlers came good, the batsmen came good, and it's an exciting day.
Absolutely. So, like DJ mentioned, at the end of day 1, we were 274 for 5. Australia got a total of 369, which I think, like the Sydney game, India did well to pull them back, because at a stage they were looking like they were going for many more. The openers again for Australia, they need to do a lot of thinking as to what's happening here. They've changed, I think, 4 or 5 openers through this series. Warner just not able to get off to a start in the first innings. Labuschagne and Smith, guys, honestly, I was really worried about these two. They got a little bit of batting time and batting practice together in Sydney. I thought that, this is the kind of first day pitch where you could see hundreds from both of them. And DJ, just commenting on the catches, Rahane is not one to put it down, but he did drop Labuschagne, and I know all of us went up in anguish at that point.
Yeah, man, that would have been 94 for 4 with that bowling attack. I mean, Shardul picked up a nice freebie on leg stump. I mean, that was a junk wicket if I ever saw one. Leg stump half volley, which Marcus Harris flicked to square leg Washington Sundar picking up the catch. But that drop cost us. And Marnus Labuschagne, we've dropped him. I can't even remember how many times this series. We dropped him, I think, 4 times in Adelaide in the first set. And he made us pay. He got 100. He loves batting at the Gabba. 274, not the worst in the world. Got Smith, who seemed to just kind of, again, have another brain fade and hit a flick shot to short cover. But catching, good. Other than the Rahane drop, Rohit Sharma, brilliant in the slips. I think picked up 6 catches. Great addition to the slips, man, when we're back to full strength. But yeah, not the worst performance on day 1. And 369, again, kept us in the game. 450, 500, it's a different game altogether, right?
Yeah, I think once you get a 450, 500, if India had allowed that score, which would have been possible, I think you would have never been able to fight back in this game. I mean, I know the Indian team can fight through anything, but I think if you got through a 500, we would have, at best been playing for a draw. But the Australian tail or middle order kind of wagged a little bit. Ashwin, talk us through a little bit on Matthew Wade. Do you think his time is up now? He's been given enough chances and gotten out stupidly. I mean, he's like the clown of Australian cricket. Cameron Green, looking solid as a batsman, but bowled over 260 balls, some ridiculous stat like that without a wicket. And Tim Paine. Let's just talk through that middle order a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that's going to change drastically. And now Wade made 45 in the first innings, Green made 47, and Payne made a 50. So they all did okay, but they needed those guys to come big in the second innings as well. And Matthew Wade made 0 off just 2 balls, right? And so that's when kind of India started to feel like they could get back in the hunt. They could get Australia all out without a big declaration, etc. So I think lot of big questions for Australia ahead. And honestly, as an India fan, it gives me a little bit of guilty pleasure doing this, but I was loving hearing the Australian commentators on Fox just implode. I mean, suddenly questioning everything, Tim Paine and this, and how come the pitches and how come there's no cracks in the pitch? Where is this happening? Where's the rain? What's this? It is just awesome to watch them at home, at their fortress, having a bit of an implosion on the air. But to answer your question, I think that's going to change up. I don't know what Tim Paine's future is as skipper, if he has a future. He was in the side because he was Australia's best wicketkeeper. I don't think one bad series changes that behind the stumps. But if you're no longer keeping reliably and you're not contributing as much as you need with the bat, and you're not contributing as much as you need to as a skipper, I don't know where they look next. Do they give Steve Smith an opening in the door to come back as leader, etc.? Because technically he now can. I don't know. But I think there's going to be a shakeup in that middle order. I do, to your question, think Cameron Green will get another chance because he's looked good with the bat when he's out there. And a fast bowling all-rounder in Test cricket is worth their weight in gold. That's why we're all waiting for Hardik Pandya to be able to come back and bowl well. But I think the middle order is going to shake up.
2 things. I think Tim Paine doesn't need a babysitter anymore because he might be sitting at home. So poor Ashwin may be waiting a long time for him to visit India. The second thing is Cameron Green. He hasn't taken a wicket, but the other guy, isn't Pankaj Singh's record in danger? I think Pankaj Singh took a wicket after 416 balls in Test cricket. So for this all-rounder not to take a wicket in 4 games and not even to take a tail-end wicket, man, it's just like, Okay, because I think he injured himself a couple of seasons ago and scored a lot of runs with the bat. But they were like, he's a better bowler than he's a batsman and stuff. So he looks like a super prospect, by the way. And those shots that he was unleashing, there's some IPL potential there. But he needs to take some wickets to justify his place in the...
But I want to say, I think Tim Paine's a little bit to blame there too, right? Part of why he didn't take tail-enders or didn't get wickets is because he was only given the ball when the strike bowlers weren't able to get anything. And that's the wrong time to bring in your all-rounder, right? You got to bring them in when you think they have a chance of striking. When you've got two set batsmen and Stark and Cummins and Hazelwood weren't able to get him out, then throw the ball to Green and hope it works. For a new guy in Test cricket, you got to give him a little bit more. But
we've also said that, I mean, is Tim Paine a good Test captain? That's the real question. He hadn't had a great...
he was only in the team and skipper because he was a good bloke. And I think we learned...
And his shirt was really well pressed and like his sleeves were really well turned up and stuff, and his collar was nicely starched.
I think we learned in Sydney that he's not actually a good bloke. He knows how to put it on for the cameras. But Varun, I'll throw it back to you and end with this. I think the cricketing gods have a way of inflicting, karmic justice, if you will, because he literally stood behind the stumps and told Ashwin, I can't wait to get you guys to the Gabba. And only when he said that, Team India was like, bring it on. We're going to show up to the Gabba and we're going to win the series from you outright there. No draw, no 1-1 to retain the trophy, outright, undisputed.
Just bring it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, if you told a Rahul Dravid and a VVS Lakshman that, they would just turn the other way and continue to drive you through the covers. You tell that to this young India, and then they go back to their hotel room, get on Instagram and Twitter and see videos and articles and thousands of comments like saying, see you at the Gabba. I mean, it's got to spur you on, right? The adrenaline rush, you're going to be like, I need to prove this guy wrong. And yeah, it's been fantastic.
Did you see Ashwin's wife's tweet?
Yes, that was great.
Greatest tweet.
She's come
out as the revelation on Twitter. Yeah, she's been outstanding on Twitter.
She was great. Like, see you at the Gabba, mate. That was fantastic. Right. So let's move on. So in that first innings for Australia, we had the two debutants, Natarajan and Sundar, pick up 3 wickets each, and Thakur also, to be honest. 3 wickets apiece for all 3 of them. Something I personally did not expect. We come to India's batting. DJ, I have to come to you for this question. Sharma ji ke bete, or Rohit Sharma, he looked so good. When I define like something as, or when I see Federer play tennis, I feel like this guy's not broken into a sweat and he's already reached the semi-finals. Rohit Sharma, that's what he reminded me of. The Australians were not troubling him at all. He was middling everything. He changed his technique. He was getting the boundaries. His strike rate was decent. He was 44 of 74 balls. And suddenly, all of us thought, hey, this is game on. We've been expecting a big one from Rohit. There's been so much chat about his temperament. There's mixed views on this. I don't want to get into it, but DJ, I want you to give me your view. And I also wanted to talk through what Rohit Sharma came out and said after that as well.
I mean, I've always been a fan of Rohit opening the batting in Test cricket because it allows him to play with a clear mind. It doesn't affect the middle order as much in that if you're expecting a Vihari or somebody to shepherd the middle order and bat sensibly or chase a target or play according to a situation, Rohit does not seem to have the temperament to do that in Test cricket. Funnily enough, white ball cricket, amazing. Test cricket, something happens. He doesn't have that temperament. We saw it again in the second innings. But in that first innings, when he's in control, I don't mind it so much. Okay, he got out at a bad time, but it looked bad because he got out like 20 minutes before tea. And then it rained. So he got out at 60 for 2 and it was 62 for 2 at the end of day's play. But I mean, if it hadn't rained, they would have had another longer session, right? So I think it looked worse than it was. Rohit Sharma says that my job is to dominate the bowlers. And that's what he went out to do there. He was beaten in the flight. That is the honest truth. The shot was a little desperate. He was beaten by a lion in the flight. He hadn't got to the pitch of it. He went through with it in the hope that it was a mistake. It was an error, right? It was an error of judgment. Even the great batsmen do it. I don't mind Rohit Sharma doing that at a 60 for 1. What I don't want him to do that is at a, 245 for 6. Because that just, you end up in a collapse then, right? So it was a mistake from him. something he can try and eliminate, but I don't think it will, because he plays a high risk, high reward game. It looks easy on the eye, but when it doesn't come off, it looks bad. So it's the same issue that people like, who else were we? Rohit Sharma is the prime example. Sanju Samson is another example. High risk, high reward, looks great when it comes off because it looks like they make batting look easy.
But Ashwin, do you think like when somebody like Rishabh Pant plays this kind of a shot, we do defend and we say, look, this is the way he plays. He's going to win some, he's going to lose some like this. But do you think it's acceptable for India's senior most batsman on this tour?
I mean, I think you can draw, maybe this match was a little unique where with no Kohli, with some of the other guys like a Vihari, etc. missing, Rohit probably had a little bit more of a role to play as a senior most batsman, as vice captain, etc. But I think you actually, Varun, have articulated so well for me, saying, look, how much room do you have at your side for these maverick test batsmen who hit big runs? And I know you're a huge fan of Sehwag, we all are. Can you just allow him to be that guy? We say with Pant, hey, as long as everybody else is doing well and consolidating, etc. That's why Pant and Pujara together, both in Sydney and in Brisbane, was magic, because they both just played their natural games. And so the question is there room in the side for a Rohit at the top and a Pant at 6, both to just get license and play their natural games, because that's where they'll do best? Or do you need Rohit to adapt in order to succeed? Now what's going to happen, we're going to go back to India, where his technique and his temperament tends to favor him more, and he's going to do better. But the question is largely around when we play in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa.
And I actually don't mind Rohit actually playing like this, just because the moment he gets that little bit of hesitation, he gets that extra thought in his head, that's when he doesn't play well. And I think that's what happened to him in the second innings, when he was like, I just have to get through this 1 hour. I have to do this. When Rohit's batting well, he's just reacting. He's just pure reaction, and he's beautiful to watch. There's no overthinking. And I think the moment he starts overthinking stuff, that's where Rohit Sharma loses his way. I mean, look at me giving Rohit Sharma great gyan about how to bat. Amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I was just disappointed. Like, I was upset. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to think about it. But I think what Rohit Sharma has done is he's showed us that he's very comfortable. He takes the attack to the opposition. We spoke about it on the last podcast, where there's that brand Rohit Sharma as well. So, I mean, I think for me, Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill are pretty much now the opening combination. Gill, we're going to talk to him about him in the second innings. Absolutely fantastic. We've said it many times. He looks like he belongs here. Played a little bit of a loose shot in the first innings. You had Pujara fighting as usual. Rahane fighting. DJ Rahane, careless shot after 2 edges already.
So Rahane's been a bit of a letdown since Melbourne, I have to say. Some of his shots have been... I mean, the first innings here was... If you can criticize Rohit for that, Rahane's hit 2 exactly through the same area of the same bowler. And you just put the shot away. And that's the difference between a Rahane and a Rohit. You expect Rahane to bat to the situation, right? And it was such a airy, fairy waft at a ball, which was unnecessary. And they put a man in just for that. They plugged the gap. Third time unlucky, man. And third time lucky for Stark. So I've been a little disappointed since Melbourne in Rahane's dismissals and the way he's got out, I have to say. I mean, even today, well, he was going for the runs, but the first innings was... shot selection really left a lot to be desired in the first session. And he would have changed the dynamic if it stayed in a little bit longer.
Absolutely. So just to recap, they made 369. We were 186 for 6. And outwalk Washington Sundar and Shardul Thakur. Honestly, guys, at this point, I thought this is it, right? This is over. Fortress Gabba, as we've heard so many damn times in the last 1 week. It's not going to happen. India are going to crumble for about 250. There's going to be an over 100-run lead, and this is going to be a very difficult second innings. But outwalk Sundar and Thakur. And Ashwin, walk us through this a little bit. Were you watching this? How great were these guys? They've put on almost, 120, more than 120 runs together.
I mean, honestly, from 186 to 6, you said we'll get 250. That is generous, given the history, given our record as of how quickly we lose our last 4. Somebody will crunch the stats on this, I'm sure. But the best thing about Sundar and Thakur, and by the way, it's DJ and a few others mentioned that Thakur's inclusion in the side was probably just justified because he can bat a little bit. And I was the one saying, yeah, but first-class batting in India doesn't always translate to Australia. They both struck the ball so well, so cleanly. They batted smartly. So again, your numbers 7 and 8 can edge a lot and go streaky shots and hit it in the air and it drops safely. And these guys batted very, very well. They controlled the game. let's be clear. It's not just 100 runs. Sundar lasted 144 balls. Thakur lasted 115 balls. These guys grounded out. They exhausted the Australian bowlers. They exhausted the opposition. They frustrated them. This is a team that has got used to saying, okay, when India's 5 or 6 down, we're done. And I just remember, I think Achal or somebody in our Discord said, is this what it feels like to have a functional tail? Because this is not a feeling we're used to. But it was magnificent. And in any test match, getting to within, I think we were 33 short, getting to within 50 runs of the lead just puts a little bit of pressure back on the side that batted first.
You remember another Australia test match, we were 33 runs short of the first innings score. Adelaide 2003.
Oh, yeah. I read that on Twitter. Wow.
I thought you were going to talk about 36 runs. Thankfully, you didn't.
Wow. But DJ, when Washington, Sundar and Shardul Thakur were playing, how frustrated would the Aussies have been? Second time.
You saw it. You saw it.
Second time.
Throw the ball at Washington's head.
Yeah, second time in a week that the Aussies have got stuck in this situation where they're just bowling and India's tail is blocking and this time making runs because there was no hamstring injury. So how frustrated would the Aussies have been? And secondly, what did you think of that shot from Washington Sundar, which was just a slap where he didn't even look up? I mean, that has to be one of the best shots I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. He's learned it from Thala, right? Thala did it first, the no-look 6, and then it became like a thing. And I mean, Washington Sundar, dude, first, let's talk about the frustration. They're chucking the ball at Washington Sundar. They're trying to unsettle him, right? But there's frustration on the field. But you know what I really enjoyed? The frustration in the commentary box. It's like these guys want to jump out, wear their Australian jerseys and go and start bowling. Ashwin alluded to it briefly, right? One is like, why is the pitch is not doing anything? The cracks have not become big. The ball was doing all sorts of things when India was bowling and Australia were batting. Like, no, bro, they're just batting well. Why can't you give credit where it's due? He's like Winways, dude. Winways at the start of the day yesterday had India at 3% win. Right?
Before lunch on day 5, it was 1%.
Yeah, Rohit gets out, it's 1%. And Warren is like, Australia, I've got to do this, Australia. And he's just like, and you know what I hate about their commentary? Their commentary is, the worst thing about the commentary is that, if they get 2 wickets now, it'll be great if they've got 2 wickets from now. Or if they, like, these guys are talking about Australia declaring at 400, they're 80 for no loss. You're like, dude, what is wrong with you? Can you imagine sharing a dressing room with these morons? Yeah. Just like, or standing in the slips with Shane Warne when KP is batting at the Oval and saving the Ashes or something, and Warne has actually dropped a catch. Warne is like, do this, do that, bowl short, bowl Yorkers, bowl into the rough, bowl around the wicket. He's just like, calm down.
Yeah, like I'm upset with the field placements. The captaincy is not good.
Yeah.
Like, take it
Can
easy.
you imagine playing with these crazy people? Insane. I mean, like, I've had a bee in my bonnet about this because it happens in the middle of the night for me, right? I can't deal with it. Anyway, frustration boiling over, of course, but the no-look 6, that was just dismissive, dude. That was dismissive from Washi. And then the 6 in the second innings, which we'll talk about as well. The fastest bowler in the world just casually hit for 6 on debut.
I'm stating the obvious. No-look 6 by a 21-year-old playing his first test match who got flown to Australia as a net bowler. It's just unreal. You can't, how you can't write this stuff. It was magnificent.
I mean, the confidence, I think it's the confidence and the self-belief, right? We're jumping the gun a little bit, but Shubman Gill, Rishabh Pant, Thakur, Washington Sundar. I mean, DJ, your memory is the best on this podcast. What do you think our 90s and early 2000 Indian batsmen and cricketers are thinking when they saw this? We've been getting out so cheaply. The tail gets out. There's no self-belief. Half the time in the 90s and early 2000s, we weren't even talking about playing for a draw. It was like, how much are we going to lose by? So is this just new India? Like, everyone has this self-belief.
This is like watching, the Azhar and Sachin partnership at Cape Town, but just for an entire match or an entire series this time, where it comes from nowhere and just blows you away. I mean, the belief in this team, it's insane. I mean, I'm actually tired today. I can't find the energy to do the podcast just because I've been emotionally drained over the last 1 month, just reading about this team, just not I mean, we have followed this team for a month or so, right? These guys have actually been in a bio bubble away from their families. We've talked about all the other troubles that have gone on. And yet yesterday, where it could have been easy to mentally be on that flight, right? They come out with the belief that they are going to win this game. And it just blows my mind. I mean, you want to talk about the 90s commentators, 90s players, they're commentators now. Look at what Sanju Manju is doing, right? Look at what Akash Chopra is doing. They can't believe what is happening. They can't believe it. And you have to give credit where it's due. And I know Shastri gets a lot of flack on it, and we don't talk about this. Shastri and Kohli have instilled that belief into this team. Shastri, you call him a drunkard. There are those memes of him drinking beer, blah, blah, blah. This guy was champion of champions, boss. He's also the one who picked, I think, Narendra Hirwani in his test match when he took 16 wickets against, I can't remember who he took it against, but Shastri in his only match as captain picked this guy to make a debut, and he took 16 wickets on debut. A leg spinner, Narendra Hirwani. Didn't do anything else, but Shastri has a cricketing brain. So all the shit the Indian fans gave him, all the shit we gave him, we have to give him credit where it is due.
We have to give him credit. We were joking earlier in the day saying, Pant and Mayank should be running doubles. They should be going for the double, and that Shastri is also going for his double peg. That was great. But Ashwin, agree with DJ. I think we give Shastri way too much flack. I think we got to give him credit here.
Yeah, totally agree. Nothing to add on Shastri. I do want to, we got a lot of great guys in the chat, so I want to address a couple of things. Some of them were about Rohit and Green, which we've already covered. So thank you all for joining us live as we do this for the first time. The one question that's come up a few times, Srinivas said it and a couple of others have said, is also about Kohli. And I think DJ touched upon it. But do you give credit in a big way to Virat Kohli for the last, call it 6 years or so, of nurturing not just the team, not just the talent, but Varun, what you said, the self-belief in these 20 to 25-year-olds who think, I can do it. And Achal sort of hit a point when he said is Indian fans like us are probably underconfident most of the time because we're still struggling with 90s and 2000s PTSD. And if Aussies were chasing today, their fans would have backed them to the end, even though it was unrealistic, where all of us were saying, just don't lose, maybe push for a draw. But I think that's the thing is maybe this generation didn't grow up, the 20-year-olds now didn't grow up with that PTSD, and they grew up seeing Dhoni, they grew up seeing Kohli transition into leadership, and they grew up believing. And I mean, that's the hashtag believe, right? And that's what they did, and they brought it to life today.
And to add to that, we put on polls on Twitter, man. And I'm actually surprised by the number of people who said India would win. 33% yesterday said India would win the match. 52% said draw. Only like 14-15% said that Australia would win. But that is the mentality of today's youngster. And that's been translated into Washington Sundar, Shubman Gill, Rishabh Pant. These are 21 and 23-year-old. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely insane to see these guys just stand up to the best attack in the world and take them apart. And imagine Kohli's FOMO, man. He's sitting at home watching this. Can you imagine? He has sat out the 3 test matches of the greatest test series in history. He played in the 36 all-out.
I read a great tweet that said, Kohli has found out what it's like to be a parent. You miss all the parties. Right?
Oh,
so that's what it is. You have to go to bed early. You can't be with the team in this situation.
He can hire Payne as babysitter now. He's free.
He can. He should. Payne is going to be very, very free for a long time. Right. So that's where India ended up after that magnificent comeback from Sundar and Thakur. 336, a lead. Australia had a lead of 33. Australia then came out. Finally, Warner found his hands and feet and everything. Warner found everything in that innings. He hit a quick fire 48 of 75 balls. You could see that Australia wanted to win this so badly. Steve Smith played fast. Warner played fast. I mean, the strike rates were incredible. Marcus Harris almost at 50. Warner 64. Labuschagne 113. Steve Smith 74. Tim Payne 72. So you could see these guys wanted to play fast. There was that looming threat of rain. And Australia just, I think they went in with a bit of overconfidence that this is the Gabba, we can't lose. Let's just ensure that we kind of have enough sessions with that rain forecast. But then suddenly, somewhere down the middle, you heard all the commentators saying they should declare, they should give them 280, just 300. And that's going to be enough. India will never make it. Ashwin, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the data, They haven't lost in the Gabba in 33 years. The highest score chased at the Gabba, I think, was 236. It's important to clarify, though, and obviously the Aussies saw this in the dressing room, the highest successful score chased at the Gabba was 236. There have been fourth inning scores higher than that. Pakistan made 450 not long ago, but they lost. And so there have been higher chases. And so obviously Payne knew that. I think they wanted to be around about 300. I think at the point they started losing wickets near the end, they said, you know what, we might as well keep going for it. And I think there's an element of psychological advantage that India got by taking that 20th wicket. Because if they had declared even at 8 down, that's the Aussies saying, we know we've got enough, come bring it on, we're going to put our bowlers to face you. When India got that 20th wicket, that's India telling Australia, you couldn't get more runs against us. Now we're going to come out and chase. And it's small, but in test matches like this, where after 5 days it could have gone down to a single run, that's what mattered. And I think there's an element of Tim Payne being a much more conservative captain than others. Like some of the Warrens and Gilchrist who were in the commentary box would have been more aggressive, and he was more conservative. And I think despite giving him 20 extra runs, that hurt them psychologically.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think that was a very good point. The fact that we got them all out really kind of boosted our team and the momentum in our favor. DJ, talk us through a little bit on Mohammad Siraj and Shardul Thakur. 9 wickets between them. There was a point where either of them could have picked up the fifer. Mohammad Siraj got it, I think rightly so. He's been wonderful for the last 2 or 3 tests and led the team off with Shardul Thakur just clapping behind him. I mean, isn't that what great teams are about, where you're just playing for one another?
And this is another one, and really emotional, man. Like, I mean, the Siraj story, there's a great article written by Bharat Sundaresan, which is called The Summer of Siraj. And it's beautiful. I mean, it talks about how Hanuma Vihari and him and Bharat Arun were all like in the bubble when his dad passed away, and how his dad's biggest dream was to watch this boy play test cricket, and he wasn't there to see it, right? And I mean, that must really, I mean, there are no words you can put that into. So, and Shardul taking those wickets, I mean, Shardul, I know we've called previously, and when I say we've called for his retirement previously on this podcast. But Shardul is the wholehearted cricketer, right? And to be fair, the criticism that has come on this show, and Ashwin, there is nothing wrong with what you've said previously. He's not our first choice bowler. He's probably our 7th or 8th choice cricketer, right? And that is an absolutely fair criticism. And in these circumstances, which are absolutely extraordinary, exceptional, for him to come out to show that heart, he's a cricketer with heart. He's a cricketer with. We talked about Washington Sundar, but Shardul Thakur's innings. In the first innings, I mean, that drive of Mitch Stark and Pat Cummins, that you'll hear that drive for years to come, because I mean, he can bat. He showed us what a wholehearted cricketer he is, and it makes you feel happy for him. He's done so well. He's obviously not as talented as some other people. Maybe he is. He's battled issues like weight and things, and he's come through it. He's traveled long distances to play cricket as a kid. It just makes you feel glad. And behind every tweet that criticizes a cricketer or calls them from, I mean, the Ashok Dinda school of bowling, and even Ashok Dinda himself, I mean, there are stories and stories and stories, and the hard work and dedication and perseverance. And I think this series peeled away that layer of, that veneer of superiority we give our cricketers. It humanized them. It showed that Siraj will react to abuse in the crowd. It shows he has tears in his eyes when he looks up, when he takes his fifer, because when his dad passed away, his bowling coach Bharat Arun told him that tu test cricket khelega India ke liye aur tu 5 wicket lega. And he did. And it's destiny, man. And this is why today I feel like I'm in a dream and I don't want to wake up. It doesn't feel real. None of this feels real. It all feels scripted. It's just, I don't know, man. I haven't felt like this since I was a kid. It would have been heartbreaking, but this is just absolutely surreal.
And I just want to build on that. When you're talking about, there was a lot of chat about Shardul and Siraj, both on 4 wickets. Who will get to the 5 for first? Because they were both bowling in tandem. Hopefully they got a wicket. And Siraj got it. And 2 things I observed, right? One, Rahane, the whole team was congratulating him. Rahane went up to the umpire, showed him the ball and said, I'm giving it to Siraj, just confirming that it's allowed, and then walks over to Siraj. Now, Rahane is a calm guy, hands it to Siraj, just pats him on the back. Just a fantastic moment. Siraj looks to the sky, obviously remembering his dad, whose dream it was. before he passed to see his son play Test cricket for India. But there's a visual that I'll try to find in post. As they're walking off the field, Siraj leading the team off, ball in hand. Shardul is right behind him, clapping with just the biggest smile on his face. That is what this team is made of. And I'm joking up as I say it, but you see Bumrah on the boundary, injured, not playing, on the boundary every time between overs, talking to the other quicks, giving them advice, giving them coaching. Shardul could have had his maiden 5-4. He said, I've got 7 wickets in the match and I got a half century, but I'm going to celebrate Siraj. He was right behind Siraj, clapping for him. Just the biggest, what looked like a genuine smile on the face. And that's what makes this team such amazing people and cricketers.
Absolutely. DJ said it was unreal. I'm going to say it's real. You better believe it, baby. This team is here to stay. This team is going to make us proud over the next so many years. We come to day 5. One word. DJ, play for the win or pay for the draw? At the start of day 5.
Brisbane weather. I even had the official website, man. Brisbane weather was supposed to come and rescue us. Where was it? There was a little bit of rain just when I think Mayank got out, right? Or it was, but there was no rain, bright sunshine. And I mean, this is part of the problem. This is why I haven't slept. I actually thought I'm going to watch the first session. It's going to pour down in the next 2 sessions and I'm going to be really fresh for work today. Clearly that hasn't happened, but
at start of day 5, you're the Indian captain or the Indian team. What do you tell them? Play for the draw? Because
if I'm the captain of the team, then I have to tell them, see where you are at
No, fair. That, of course. But right. I'm just saying that, a collective
because
mindset.
You can lose the game in the first session. You won't win the game in the first session by going after the bowling. So see where you are at team.
Yeah. Ashwin, play for the win, play for the draw?
Honestly, probably play for the draw. It was play for don't lose, which is play for the draw, essentially. And eventually, if we can accelerate, we will. So I think they scripted it out to perfection. They knew they had the lower order who could bat faster, etc. So I think probably start the day playing for the draw.
Yeah, I think same here. I think a lot of people said that as well. A draw is equal to a win for India in this situation. You retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy. You save those points that are needed for the World Test Championship. Ricky Ponting, though, came out and said, if India was to draw this, it's a loss for Australia. It's worse than the 2018-2019 series. And so let's get into day 5, guys. It's firstly not easy to hit 300 in a day. Secondly, it's not easy to chase 300 in the 4th innings of a test match. And then the third is the 4th innings on day 5. The way tests go, 4th innings could happen on day 3, day 3.5 as well. So outcome, India's opening batsman. We mentioned Rohit in the 2nd innings. He probably had too much going on in his mind on what he needs to do. There was a lot of pressure. But DJ, Shubman Gill, how fantastic was he? I mean, every shot of his was just magnificent.
I was telling you guys even before this innings, I was just like, every time Shubman Gill touches the ball, I feel like cricket has won. He just looks like a cricketer from head to toe, whether it's the floppy hat, the long sleeves, the red hanky, which apparently he keeps in for luck. So he scored runs with it many years ago. Apparently, Kerry O'Keefe was saying on the television. So, I mean, we've been looking in the wrong place for Sehwag. I said it earlier. We have been looking in the wrong place for Sehwag. Shubman Gill, 91 on a day 5 track at the Gabba, Fortress Gabba. Let's talk about Fortress Gabba again. But with those cracks, the ball's keeping low, the world's best bowling attack bowling at you. You're in your 3rd test match. It's unreal, man. You made your debut 2 games ago. I'm so gutted that the guy didn't get 100. But you know what? Sometimes a 91 is as good as 100. Remember 2011?
Just ask just ask MS Dhoni and Gautam Gambhir. 97
exactly.
And
Pant got 97 in the last game. Gambhir got 97 in the World Cup final. But sometimes a 91 is as good as 100. But that job was only half done. Sharma went early. Again, we've talked about that. But Gill, just class, man. Class written all over it. And looks temperamentally sound, can bat with a Pujara even when Pujara isn't ticking the scoreboard over. Gill just made up the runs at his own end.
Yeah, and I mean, what I loved about Gill is just that he looked in control majority of the time. Now, I don't have that control stat, but I would say that he was probably the most in control out of all the openers this series. So great for Indian cricket. We've seen the days of Murli Vijay and all of that, and they all fought hard, but nobody's looked as good as Gill in a long, long time. Ashwin, let's come to Pujara, right? Pujara, again, like you knew that today his job was going to be to hold up one end. He's the kind of guy who puts a price on his wicket, but today it felt like he was just willing to do anything it takes to not give his wicket away. He took 11 blows, 11 or 12, I think, on the body, on the helmet, on the elbow. He dropped his bat. He fell to the floor. He stood back up. He pointed his bat like a sword when the bowler starts to bowl, took guard, and just kept going.
I mean, I'm almost out of words for somebody like Pujara and the knock he played today. I mean, again, I said this before, but if you think, oh, why didn't he strike faster or things like that, you don't understand the game well enough. You don't understand the role he's in the team to play. Yes, he's batted slower than other innings and stuff. He was 8 runs of 90 balls, I think, 89 balls or something, right? It takes unbelievable mental fortitude to do that. And by the way, I think we've all seen his mental fortitude before and we knew what he was capable of. He brought his physical strength and his fortitude today as well. These guys are bowling at 140 plus clicks an hour. And he's just constantly taking blows on the body. At one point, and he's from the maybe slightly old school way of thinking, which is like, don't show pain. Don't show pain to the opposition because they're gonna pounce on it. And so he didn't show it. At one point, it hit his finger on the glove and he jumped and he winced and he dropped his bat and went to the side. So just imagine for a guy who's trained not to show pain, when he did show that he was hurting, how bad it must have been, right? At one point, they were showing the top-down camera of the physio examining his finger and he bent it a little bit and you're saying, okay, good, he can bend his finger. And he just went back and played. And I tweeted this because there's a story of Sachin's debut against Pakistan when Waqar Younis bowled a bouncer to him early on in his innings and it hit his nose. And at the time, the grill, I don't know if he had a grill, maybe he was missing a grill on his helmet, hit his nose, bloody nose, broke his nose, I think. And the stretcher came out and they were about to stretcher him off the field and he got up and said, "Main khelega," which means I'll play. And he just batted on. And and he just batted on. And Pujara just showed that fight. He said, I'm here to see my team over the finish line. I don't want anybody else to do it. He made it to the second new ball when he got a Jaffer from Cummins. But it was magnificent. Seeing him take all those blows on the body. I hope he gets to go home, take an ice bath, sleep for 20-odd days till England comes around. But he has been a master this whole series. And Pujara is like gold dust for Indian Test cricket. He was unbelievable. And sorry, last technical thought. He tired out the bowlers, right? It's not that Pant and these guys just came and smacked some of the best bowlers in the world. He exhausted them physically, mentally. They had to give everything they could to him. And that's what enabled a Pant and a Sundar, etc., to hit well. So credit to everybody, but let's give Pujara his credit for the role he played on day 5. Just magnificent.
And it took out one of the possible results, right? It made Australia's win less likely. It frustrated the bowlers. You saw Josh Hazlewood hitting him in the head, not even bothering to come up to inquire about him, saying, did you see that one? Which is just, pathetic behavior.
That was sick. Australia have lost somebody dear to them.
His stem guard came off, man. You saw the stem guard going flying off, and this guy's like, did you see that one?
Yeah, it was just sick. Like, it made me feel sick. Australia have lost a loved one to a similar delivery. They went into mourning for a long time, and you're just such bastards that you forget everything. And Hazlewood, I've lost all respect for Hazlewood after that. Even, like, that's what to me, when I thought if Pat Cummins saw that, he would have never done that, right? But you can never say.
I think we love Cummins, man. Like, you can't do anything but love that guy. The way he bowled, the way he bats, the way he fields. But, that was just not on from Hazlewood. But what Pujara did, and we've spoken about it again, he forces the bowlers to bowl that beautiful delivery to come up with that magic ball to get him out. And he's done that over and over. We say, why does he make them look better? No, he doesn't make them look better. Other batsmen would have gone like 200 balls ago. Pujara bats those 200 balls, takes those out of the game, and then goes to a Jaffa. So, that's the other value he had. So, intent, keep it aside, man. Content.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about this win for us, right? You've won it with 3 overs to spare, and the game is so beautiful that Pujara has played at a striker of 26, while Gill and Pant have played at close to 65. And they have won the game. So I thought it was beautiful. When Gill got out, Rahane walked in. And that to me was a little bit surprising because I thought that India is in a commanding position. I thought you're going to send Pant or Mayank right now, try to get some more runs. But I think Captain Rahane just kind of came out with a positive mindset. He did strike it over 100, 110 almost. And he hit a 6, he hit a boundary, but he got out in a manner that I was kind of wincing when I saw that. I said, with Pujara at the other end holding things up, Rahane should have kept this going because that experience of both these guys in the middle would have been invaluable for India. And remember, these are the only 2 guys in the entire team who have played all 4 test matches. So I was really upset when Rahane got out, but then that gave a chance for the team to promote Rishabh Pant up the order. Rishabh Pant, man, what do I say? I just feel so proud because in today's day and age, you've got, it is this world of T20 cricket. It's this world of popcorn cricket. It's the world where on social media, when somebody drops a catch, you say, drop them from the team. When somebody hits a bad shot, you say, drop them for the team. And I have to say, I think 3 of us deserve some credit for backing our boy. We have backed him. We said that he's a match winner. We said that he's young. He does make mistakes. He's here to stay. And suddenly now everyone has woken up. Rishabh Pant needs to play every game. Rishabh Pant needs to be part of every test series. Doesn't matter if it's overseas in India. I've had people come to me and say, Saha can be his wicket-keeping coach, but Rishabh Pant now has to play every game. Just 1.5, 2 tests ago, people were saying Rishabh Pant needs to be dropped. Pant is sort of like a 4th inning specialist to me. He's hit 97 and 89 within a week, both on day 5, 4th innings. He did something similar in the 4th innings in England, where I think he made 114 odd as well. That requires a different level of character, a different level of self-belief, confidence, taking the attack to the bowlers. Ashwin, Rishabh Pant, how good was he?
And I have a lump in my throat as you were describing it, because exactly to your point, we on the show have backed him. And this is not to say, oh, I told you so, but it is just so rewarding to see a young, talented cricketer. And by the way, we've also flip-flopped on him, right? He does disappoint, but that's what he does. And I said this on the last show, next match he might fail, but that's okay, because where Pujara is in the team to play a specific role, Pant is also in the team to play a very specific role, and he has played that to perfection. So I don't want to get yet into the discussion on should he bat in the top 3 or should he become a specialist batter and drop down to keeper. I think he's doing a magnificent job. I think the one other observation I'll share is in the post-match conference, he almost seemed a little bit shy. He didn't know what to say. He was probably overwhelmed with emotion, like we all were when we hopped on a call at 1:30 in the morning my time and were basically screaming in joy. But he was probably overwhelmed. But he was shy. He didn't, so it almost shows his on-field persona is a little different to his off-field persona, where he just finds a way to be chirping behind the wickets and chatting and being loud and come on, Ash, and hoi, hoi.
Singing Spider-Man, tune churaya mera dil ka chain.
I mean, how great was that, right? How great was that? And then with the bat, just falling over and hitting magnificent shots that no 23-year-old has the right to hit against this bowling attack. And yet off the field, he's such a humble, shy guy who is just, thankful to be there. And it's just amazing. I have nothing else to say. It was just phenomenal. He batted well. He left the ball very smartly. He read when Lyon was spinning it away from him. He knew when to leave the ball to frustrate them. They tried to tempt him into hitting the big shot. He didn't fall for it all the time. He swung and missed a couple of times and got lucky, but fortune favors the brave. And today that brave soul was Rishabh Pant.
And DJ, Rishabh Pant just seemed to want all the strike, right? I know we spoke about it just before getting on the podcast, that it almost felt that he was playing a little bit carelessly, but I think he just wanted to win so bad. I think if somebody had come up to him in that last 1 hour of play while giving him a drink or new gloves or anything and just said, coach and captain have said play for the draw, I think Rishabh Pant would have been shattered. I think he wouldn't have known how to do that. Rishabh Pant is the kind of guy who you've never heard the words play for a draw ever, right, in his life. And I think he would have probably disrespected that advice because he would have said, I can do it. And what was great for me is seeing Mayank Agarwal come out against the new ball, still hitting some wonderful drives. Washington Sundar coming out, hitting a beautiful 6, still taking it to the attack. At no point once Pant, Agarwal and Sundar were batting, did you feel that they're not going for the win, right?
Beauty of that lineup is that because Pujara bats like that, Pant can bat like this. And because Pant bats like this, Pujara can bat like that. It's a yin and yang relationship, right? And that is the beauty of that lineup. And I mean, Pant went past 1,000 runs faster than any other wicketkeeper in the history of Indian cricket. Even MS Dhoni, who is an all-time great of Indian cricket and possibly world cricket. The declaration, we talked about the declaration, right? A little while ago, and the target Australia would set. 100% that target was influenced by Rishabh Pant. We've talked, and on this show, I mean, we've been mocked for it. We've been mocked for calling him the Indian version of Adam Gilchrist. But this is what teams legislated for. If you're playing Australia, you have to think about Gilchrist coming in at number 6 and number 7. Right? And that is what Rishabh Pant has given you. And he was falling over, he was coughing, he was running really slowly between the wickets. And I was like, why is he so slow? And you were like, don't criticize him. It was, I mean, the adrenaline, I'm thinking about it now, and the adrenaline's come back on. I mean, it's literally, I couldn't go to sleep. I tried to go to sleep and I couldn't go to sleep because like my heart was still pumping after that win. And it meant so much to this guy. He needs to not just play test cricket. He needs to play every format of cricket for India. There is no doubt in my mind. He needs to bat higher up the order. He needs to bat at 3 possibly or open the batting in T20 cricket. And yeah, I mean, give him a free rein and he will deliver. He's shown you what he's capable of. Set him free.
Yeah, I agree, DJ. I think over time, everyone's going to come to the realization that he needs to play all forms for India. You mentioned he's an Adam Gilchrist. I think he's just on a league of his own. He's only 23. He's only going to get better. He just needs experience. He needs people to back him. And I really hope that everyone out there backs him, because sometimes you got to back the player. Sometimes you have to believe. And I know that he believes in himself. So it was fantastic. It was poetic that Pant hit the winning runs, that drive, and he took off running. We didn't know if it was going to be a boundary, and it just kind of the sensation was amazing.
I was a little disappointed though.
Why?
You know why, right?
Because he didn't finish it off in style.
No, I wanted Shardul Thakur to hit the winning runs in a innings in a series victory on Ashwin's birthday. That would have been too poetic. I mean, we talked about it yesterday, right? How good would that be? And Shardul fell just short. When Washington got out, I was like, this is destined to happen on Ashwin's birthday. Unbelievable.
I would have taken back everything I said about Shardul. I kind of already do. I mean, you articulated it well, but it would have been just poetic today.
No, I think it was just magnificent. In my lifetime, and I think we've had some questions on this, this is the greatest victory given the context, given the composition, given the combination, given the injuries, given the 36 all-out to rise from that. The despair of 36 all-out, the magnificence of Melbourne, the sensation in Sydney, and now the glory of the Gabba, man. That's where we are. 2-1. Border Gavaskar is ours. And we're top of the World Test Championship as well, right?
Absolutely. There was so much to play for this in this game. Like DJ mentioned, we retained the trophy. We're on top of the WTC championship table right now. I do think this is one of the greatest series since 2001. I think it also puts a little bit into context the 2018-2019 win where, there was always that asterisk, as DJ says, that, Smith and Warner weren't playing. Labuschagne wasn't really on the scene then. And India went and beat them at home with a slightly depleted team. Well, this was Australia's best team. This was the best 11 they could put up there. And India, who played probably their B or C team, for them to beat them is just phenomenal. I mean, think about it, guys. Your Sundars and Thakurs may not even play the next test for India. Natarajan, Sundar, Thakur, Saini. They may not play the test. And they were a part of the team that has created history today. We have spoken a little bit about Kohli missing out, but Kohli having built this team. Shastri said it at the end of the day. This is Virat Kohli's team. They imbibe his fighting spirit. They've learned it from him. There is a must-win attitude. And Shastri did say that we have a plan to play Rishabh Pant in overseas tests because we want to win overseas, right? These guys are the heroes. These guys are the future of Indian cricket.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't agree more. It's just been absolutely magnificent. It's so weird to think these heroes who batted so brilliant, batted and bowled so brilliantly, may not play again for a while. But that's the power of bench strength. That's the power of having depth. That's the power of having guys who flew to the country as net bowlers making their debuts. So absolutely outstanding. Varun, I'm going to take a couple of comments from the chat. Siddharth is insisting that we show off some beers and drinks. So Siddharth, for you, I'm early morning my time. I'm sure DJ can pull one up. He's drinking something. Varun's late night his time. He can be drinking something too.
It's the middle of the working day for me, man. I've got to go back to work.
Maybe in a little bit. Nehala says, I have only you guys to credit for converting me into a Pant fan more than Pant himself. So that's awesome. Really great to see a couple of people talking about Pant and Pujara being fire nice, chalk and cheese. And then one other comment that I thought was great was Pant being called left-handed Sehwag. 195 and attempting to get 200 with 6. So lots of great comments in the chat, guys. Thank you for doing this. Again, if you're listening to this as a podcast, we are also broadcasting this live. One other one that Anup says is shout out to Rahul Dravid too for helping produce this new generation of cricketers. And I think that is unbelievably true. The India A setup has been a huge feeder. It's been magnificent, and full credit to Dravid, master batsman, master cricketer, the wall 1.0 if you want to call Pujara 2.0, but really invested in the young generation of talent, and it's starting to pay dividends.
Varun, anything from the Australian perspective? Because we've got some criticism for being too India-centric.
I think we are allowed to be India-centric today, but
I mean, the jerseys give it away a little bit, no?
Yeah. I think Australia have a lot of thinking work to do. Like to be beaten at home twice in a row by a team, especially by this team where I think 8 out of 11 players who would have been playing in India's first test lineup were not playing. So Australia have a lot of work to do. I think Lyon was a little bit off color. Stark was a little bit off color. They've been persisting with these guys. They're fantastic bowlers, no doubt. But maybe it's time for some young blood to come in. Maybe they need to figure out what's happening with the young talent, the young bowlers. Maybe you need some new fast bowler blood in there. I think Payne has his days numbered. I think he is, probably next 6-8 months he's going to continue to captain this team. But after that, there's a lot of thinking to be done. They're going to have to
bring sandpaper. Steve Smith back.
Yeah, I don't think Steve Smith should be brought back. I'm not sure if Australia will do it, but they got to sort out their openers. They have 2 or 3 amazing batsmen in Warner, Labuschagne and Smith. That is the reality. India got the better of them sometimes, but they were very easy to take the series. It could have easily been a situation where they took the series away from us. But after that, can't help but think that the middle order needs a lot of work in the Australian team. No doubt Justin Langer is going to have to think about how to rebuild after this. A loss at home of this nature will always require you to go back and rethink. So,
you think they've got a test part 2 coming out?
I hope there's an India test part 1. I really hope somebody will
retest
behind the scenes on this tour. So, yeah, I mean, it's still sinking in, guys. It's been a fantastic series. I think we're going to get 15 days off now. I know the England squad has been released just before we're recording this podcast. Don't worry, we're going to do a full India-England preview. We're going to talk to you about who's back, who's injured, who's not. Kohli will be back. And I think at home in India with the World Test Championship to play for, I think this is going to be a cracking series. For now, guys, just let it sink in, right? We've all said it feels unreal. I said it before. It's real. You got to believe it. And yeah, that's it. Wait for us. We'll be back next week.
Can I just say one thing for next week, actually? We're going to have the cricket writer and historian Ramchandra Guha on our podcast, interviewing him. We will also be doing a giveaway of his new book, A Commonwealth of Cricket. We'll put out details on Twitter and Instagram on that. It has just been an incredible series. And enjoy it, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Storytel and The Whole Truth Foods. Thank you for supporting us. So a great bunch of episodes this week. First, let me tell you about The Note with Maruk Inayat. It was featuring Asaduddin Owaisi. She spoke to the AIMIM leader to understand what the Indian Muslim voter wants and how his party is any different from the BJP. On Advertising is Dead, Varun spoke with Malika Sadani. Malika is the founder and CEO of the Moms Company. They discussed the science of motherhood. On Naan Curry with Sadaf and Archit, Dhananjay Chuck of the Edges and Sledges podcast showed up, so we did another crossover, this time with food and cricket. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ritasha and Ayushi talked to Gaurang Sangvi, head of digital business at DSP Mutual Fund. The episode has some logical and realistic advice, especially for millennials, on how to invest their money. Shunya One is back this week with Sheila Aditya and myself. We spoke to Anirudh Singla of Pepper Content this week. Really interesting conversation. Anirudh gave us some real deep insights into content creation and how they're thinking about different ways of creating it. Do check them out. Really fun show, really fun conversation. And with that, we hope to see you again next week.
Working Monday to Friday glued to your chair making you feel dull? Worry not. Get your 5-minute weekly dose of travel around the world with Postcards from Nowhere. Join me every Thursday as I explore the strange, obscure, and fascinating parts of the world and bring out facets of travel you may not have thought of before. You can find us on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.